Detroit Hot Radio, WDHR, the heart and soul of Detroit music.
This interview is a public service. The views and opinions expressed are not necessarily the views and opinions of Detroit Hot Radio. Stay tuned for Let's Talk About It with your host, T. Pablo.
Right here on DetroitHotRadio.com.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Let's Talk About It. I'm your host, T. Pablo. Tonight, we're going to have a very interesting show. We got Hodo. I know a lot of you Detroiters know who Hodo is. He's had a TV show in Detroit for over 20 years. He's a fixture in Detroit. He's always active in the community. He's running for political office. Let me tell you something about Hodo. Hodo grew up on the east side. He went to Elizabeth Corville Elementary in Detroit. He also attended Cleveland Middle School in Detroit, John J. Pershing High School, also in Detroit, and when he went to college, he went to Grambling. Everybody know who Grambling is, or if you black, and you heard of a college, you heard of Grambling. Grambling had not only an awesome football team, but they had an awesome marching band. A lot of people watched Grambling just for the band. They had a badass football team. Hodo's major at Grambling was radio and television broadcasting, with an emphasis in journalism and production, where W.F. Hodo obtained a FCC license at the age of 19. Hodo is a member of the Alpha Phi Omega social fraternity, where he was president. Hodo has been in the field of broadcasting for nearly 3 decades as a radio and television show producer, television sound engineer, television technical director, talk show host, researcher, political commentator, interviewer, and moderator, while hosting the 4-time award-winning program The Hodo Show and The Other Viewpoint. W.F. Hodo donated a pre-recorded radio program he narrated about black inventors and their patents in the United States of America to Timbuktu's history department, also as a talk show host on TV 33/88.1 FM WHPR. W.F. Hodo exposed numerous problems throughout the city, but more importantly, he gave solutions to these problems, if not through himself, then through many well-known and well-versed guests. Also, Hodo is a former UAW union representative at Local 212, and we used to party back in 212 back in the day. Former Marks Street Block Club president. He's a former board member, Nolan State Fair Neighborhood Health and Empowerment Center. Prior to becoming a board member, W.F. Hodo volunteered for 3 years. He trained children and seniors in self-defense, mentored young men through the W.E.B. Du Bois Preparatory Academy's Rites of Passage program. He mentored young men through the then John J. Pershing High School-based organization, Brothers in Transition. He hosted and led forums on the plight of the black farmers throughout the city for years, well before community gardening was a catchphrase. He's former president of the Paranomics Fishery Development Program in Detroit, spearheaded by Dr. Claude Anderson. He volunteered as the assistant varsity football coach for 2 seasons at John J. Pershing High School. He volunteered at the Kabaz Black Jewels Community Center. W.F. Hodo is an actor of stage and screen, also one of the very few black stuntmen in the entire state of Michigan. As an actor, W.F. Hodo traveled to multiple Detroit public schools portraying black historical characters in educational African-centered stage plays. These are just a few facts from the life of Hodo that show his commitment to his neighbors, to his neighborhood, to his community, to District 3, by the way, that's the district he's in, to District 3, and the love for the city of Detroit's residents as a whole who have struggled, stuck it out, and stayed. I know that Detroiters have grown tired of corruption and liars, says Hodo. I've been right here with you, filled with disappointment and outrage for decades. We can change all this if we pay closer attention before we make choices. He also goes on to say, do you want to keep going down the same path, or will you look at a track record that is self-evident of public service when choosing your city councilman for District 3? Whatever you decide, at least I hopefully have given you a glimpse of what public service looks like. To those of you who live in District 3, or if you have friends or family in District 3, I'm asking you to write in WF Hodo on the ballots for general election November 2nd, 2021 for District 3 Detroit City Council position. So ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. And we're going to talk to Hodo right after this.
Terrestrial radio can't do what we do because we are setting a new standard in Detroit. The best Detroit artists are here, along with all your national favorites. Detroit Hot Radio.
Since November 2016, the Black Gold Movement has been working to create a new reality for Black people, one that we can own, control, and pass to our children. A Black nation within this nation. We need your help to create this by becoming a supporting member of the Black Gold Nation for just a monthly fee of $4. Invest by going to www.blackgold-wakandarising.com and clicking support now.
Now, on with the show.
Right here on DetroitHotRadio.com.
We're back, so without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Brother WF Hodo. How you doing today, Hodo?
Oh, I'm good today, Pablo. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. You know, a lot of people say they're pulling for you. What you plan on doing for Detroit?
First of all, let me let the audience know what I'm running for. My name is WF Hodo, and that's spelled WFHODO. And I'm a write-in candidate for District 3. Now, when you write my name on the ballot, again, WF Hodo, that's WFHODO, you write that on the ballot, and then you're going to have to darken in the circle right next to my name. Now, I'm running for District 3 City Council, and that's on the east side of Detroit. Our district boundaries are from 8 Mile east of John R. to 6 Mile right underneath Highland Park, going east underneath Hamtramck, straight down 8 Mile, all the way to the border of Harper Woods. Back up to 94 to Harper. The city airport is in the district, and back all the way across to Hamtramck, going up Harper. We're here to give the people opportunity for change, not that same old soup warmed over. See, we are about being a public servant. You've been getting politicians. You've been getting people who've been ganking you out your money. You've been getting people who've been making a bunch of promises and have no type of community record. Well, yours truly has been doing things in the neighborhoods, all on the east side, on the west side, all throughout Detroit for upwards of 35 years. You're getting to put a community servant out of me. That's all my spiel is for that.
So, Hodo, tell me, what is your plans to, I know you can't do it yourself, but what can you tell those who are job creators about creating jobs?
First of all, we need to create a lot of jobs on the east side because we got so much wasteland. And when I say wasteland, I mean land that's not being used. We got land, we got buildings up and down 6 and 7 Mile that could be businesses, not only for folks coming from outside of Detroit, but mainly for those who live inside of District 3. They need to be getting groomed to take over these vacant spaces. We need to be reaching out to the federal government for grant money so that we can refurbish these buildings. See, I'm looking at all of the housing stock, for instance, how you're tearing down a bunch of houses. Now, if you look at a lot of these houses, and T. Pablo, I know that you can verify, because I think you have a background in construction, that when you tear down a house, there's a brick home for the mere reason that the pipes in the water tank is missing, is a waste of a home. You need to start refurbishing some of these homes, because when you tear these homes down and you leave all of these vacant lots, the property value of those homes that still remains diminished. They're not going to get any better. Now, as far as where you started off with me dealing with jobs, you read in my bio that I worked with Dr. Claude Anderson. As a matter of fact, I was the president of the fishery program, the Powernomics fishery program, when he brought it to Detroit, where he wanted to get a warehouse and put some big gigantic tanks in there and raise fish. Now, this particular thing would have created multiples of jobs and different industries. For instance, if you get fish tanks and you're raising this fish, this water becomes real dirty because of the feces and so forth that's in the water. Well, then you take said water and you use it for fertilizer, where you can create a fertilizer company. Then to ship the fertilizer around, you're going to need a trucking service. To maintain security, you're going to need some security companies. You're going to need people there working. Now, this is what Dr. Claude had suggested years ago, but the administration at that time kind of faltered and let it slip by. But I had something that I added to that, where as opposed to just putting fisheries in big buildings, why not make these fisheries more individual, where more people could have them, where it could be spread all over Detroit at that time. Well, now I would like to see if it was possible to do the same thing in District 3, where more people could have the fisheries, raise their own fish, and be able to create a lot of jobs and wealth amongst the community. We need family-style restaurants all up and down 6 Mile and 7 Mile. What do you mean by family style? Well, family style means sit-down restaurants, because every place we go now, everybody's standing there behind a big plexiglass window, grab that bag and go. There was a time in this city that we had family style restaurants where folks could sit down with their children and their wife or their girlfriend or whoever and enjoy each other's company, have some conversation, even see some good entertainment. T. Pablo is a musician himself. He knows how hard it is right now inside of the city of Detroit just to find venues for these thousands of entertainers that are great entertainers, musicians, singers, writers, all over Detroit, poets, spoken word artists. Don't have a whole lot of venues to go to, and we don't need to have everything downtown. We need to bring things back to the community. We shouldn't have to go way away from our homes to go to work or just to enjoy ourselves. We should be able to walk around the corner and go to work. Could you imagine if all of these buildings, these vacant buildings up and down 6 and 7 Mile, on Van Dyke, on Gratiot, the places where we could work from our communities, we could just walk around the corner and go to work, drive around the corner, drive a few blocks, as opposed to rush hour time and the freeways all packed up. These are the kind of things, the kind of ideas that I didn't just come up with this stuff just because I'm running for public office. I've been talking about this kind of thing ever since I was on the air, and even before I got on the air for over 30-some years.
Hodo, everything you say sounds really, really good, and I agree. We do need more businesses, from manufacturing to wholesale. How can you, or what can you do to convince City Hall that this needs to be done?
First of all, it's not just me. See, those of you out there who plan on writing my name on the ballot, well, you need to start doing petitions, because when a certain amount of signatures are presented to those in political positions, they have to adhere to that. They have to at least address it. Once it's addressed, then the next step is to find those federal dollars. I'm not talking about going up on the tax. See, this is the thing. Every time we want something in Detroit, people want to put a millage or a bond on us to raise money to do things that we need. Well, those dollars are already in place. The federal government has a whole bunch of dollars that have always been coming to the city, but have not been exposed to the public. The people don't know that these dollars are there. Those who are public servants, and I say public servant again because we're supposed to serve you. We're your employee. We're not supposed to be at the city council table telling you, well, you only have 2 minutes to speak, and then you don't get a chance to redress or rebut that which the city councilman says. You know, you're not supposed to have to write your questions on an index card and then watch those who are supposed to be there serving you shuffle the deck with the cards and put your questions on the bottom where you never get your question answered or even asked. It takes the help of the community. And one thing that will help that is instead of having public discussion at 10 o'clock in the morning or 11 o'clock in the morning, it needs to be between 5 and 6 p.m. in the afternoon when people get off work so they could actually be there to address the concerns of their community. We need to not limit the time that people can talk. Well, at least give them at least, if it's 2 minutes now, stretch it out to 8 minutes. So that way it could be some redress going on. And then that people can see if you run an okie doke on them. Another thing, I think on vote day, the day that the council has to vote for things that are going to directly affect the citizenry of Detroit, all city council people should ride the bus to work. So that whatever you voted on that last week can be addressed to you face to face. Now, the only way that you wouldn't want to ride the bus if you're not looking out for the best interests of the people. You shouldn't be scared of your employer. The people are our employer. If I get in this position, you will be my employer. That means you're supposed to address the action that I took that represents your company, because Detroit is a company.
That's a good segue into this next question. What do you think it'll take to reduce crime, not only reduce crime, but reduce incidences of racist police attacking black people?
Let me address the first part that you said. Crime is based on a lack of income. So if we can create jobs and help people go into business, not just jobs, but also go into business and be owners of businesses where they can provide jobs in the community and not at minimum wage, not at a livable wage, but a superior wage. $15 an hour is cool for one person. A household is hard for a mother to take care of 3 or 4 children off of $15 an hour.
So would you say the wages should be based on family size?
Definitely that. Also, the types of industries that come into the community, like for instance, they're talking about flexing gate. That's one of the major issues on the east side. They have not been addressing the needs of their employees properly. They have not been sharing the wealth properly. There have been people there, for instance, I've heard that working there for years. And they started off, say, $16 an hour. And it may have taken them 3 years to get to even 18. That's not right. When you have a corporation that's making multiples of millions of dollars, I know y'all got overhead, I know y'all got to pay bills, but come on, man.
I want to go back to this question about the family size and wages. I just flipped it off my head, but I got something I want to ask you about. Just like when you do your income taxes and they ask you to tell them how many dependents and how many, things you got to do with your money so they can give you what they got to give you. If you put that down and they give it to you up front, that might be even better. That might be more helpful in creating a lifestyle that's pretty good. I mean, obviously you can save more so that when you got to file taxes, you may not get as much as you would in the other system, but hell, your quality of life is better.
So you're saying when they fill out their W-2s to be able to put down how many people in the household?
No. Wages. When you go get a job, they say, okay, are you single? You say, yeah, okay, then we're going to pay you this amount of money. They ask another person, are you single? No, I'm married with 5 kids. Well, we're going to pay you this amount of money.
I don't know.
Because number one, when you go file your taxes, that's what you got to do to get more money back. You got to name how many people, count how many people in your family, how many dependents you got, and then they give you the money back. So I say, well, let's do this up front. I mean, that's my opinion. Let's do it up front. Yeah, you'll get less back in the return when you go to file because you already got your money. But at the same time, to me, it seemed like it would improve your quality of life because everybody feel like their quality of life improves when they get their tax money back. Now they feel like their quality of life improved, but they're going to blow it most of the time. But it's a catch-22. What you think about that?
I don't know exactly how that would be done, man. I'm going to just be truthful because I'm not one of those who just willy-nilly says, Yeah, I think that's something that would have to be thought about, and then is no way to make an employer pay somebody like that. It's just not possible to do that part of it. But
they already paid you through withholding. They already paid you. Mm-hmm. They just hold it back and then send it to the government.
So you're saying to not take that portion out for taxes?
It's enough to have to pay tax, because you're going to pay taxes on everything, from a bottle of beer to cars. You're already paying a lot of taxes. But as it relates to wage taxes or income taxes, I think you should pay less. Let make the rich pay more or something. But I think workers should take most of their money home because that's where they need it. And then have a small tax fee, because you can't run a government without tax money. But they're going to use the money anyway, and then they're going to send a lot of it back to you at tax time. It's all about using the money. I know a lot of employers will hold checks back around tax time, so the numbers at the bank will be big. They can get the tax money off of it. Then they say, well, the checks are late. You've been through that, right? The checks are late. Everybody know that game. And that's my opinion.
I'm going to have to leave that one late, man. I don't know. I don't know how that would work.
Well, that's good. That's good. That ain't what we're talking about right now. Now, but my other thing was about that safety, right? Safety and economic development are very critical in our community.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned the policing. Mm-hmm. Now, let's give you a little quick history of that. Now, you knew that in the 90s, prior to Dennis Archer being the mayor, that you had residency where those who lived in Detroit or those who wanted to be police officers had to live in Detroit, and city workers had to live in Detroit. Well, that changed when Dennis Archer got in office. And it wasn't run by city council. He didn't take that to city council. He took it to the state legislature and made sure it was changed on a state level so that way the city of Detroit had no response to it, no recourse, where they could change anything. So the only way that residency would ever return to the city of Detroit, state legislatures would have to pass it. And since the 90s, we've had a super Republican legislature. I don't see that part happen.
I know what you mean. I grew up in an all-black community. I've always seen black people do well. The mayor was black, the police officer, the police chief, everybody was black, right? You got caught doing something, the worst thing they would do is take you home. You'd be like, please take me to jail. We don't have that anymore. Safety has really been one of my pet peeves, Growing up playing marbles, watching little girls play hopscotch and all that stuff, that's gone because nobody trusts anybody anymore. How can we get around that?
Well, I know some may say it's not enough money there for this, but to pay the officers. But I would say go back to walking the beat. Because when the police walked the beat, that meant everybody knew. You see those old movies where they have the guy who say, oh, top of the morning to ya. We want to talk to you. Hey, I'm officer such and such. And everybody knew officer such and such, So yeah, if folks were able to see these officers and keep the same officers walking the same beats for years, where they would get a connection to the community and the community would get a feel for them. That would also make sure that police officers wouldn't be abusing the community because everybody would know where to find them. Well, they're going to be walking past here, such and such.
That's when they really used to serve and protect.
Definitely. And so those are the things that would help. So we need to be able, as they write grants for all kinds of things and federal dollars, well, they need to earmark some ways to be able to have officers walking the beats again throughout the neighborhoods. They walk and ride horses downtown.
Ironically, I saw a couple guys walking the beat yesterday down 8 Mile.
Really? That's interesting. Well, if we could get that in District 3 on the east side of Detroit, or even outside of District 3 on Mack and Bewick, have some officers walk the beat.
I've been living over here since 1990. Mm-hmm. I have never seen them until yesterday, so.
Well, maybe somebody's trying, but that would be one of the main ways to reduce a lot of crime in the neighborhood. If we could get, say, for like a 4 mile square, if you could get 50 officers that could walk during that 4 mile square, then you might matter of fact, there's no might to it. You see a drastic change in crime. So these are the kind of ideas, but again, something on that level wouldn't just be up to me. That would be up to the whole city council. So that means when you're considering your vote for city council that's coming up on November 2nd, you got to not only consider the districts, you also got to consider who you're voting for at large. So all of this coincides together. See, when you all are voting for city representatives, y'all need, and even the mayor, y'all need to make sure that they represent your values. How will it help your community directly? Because thus far, the majority of the things that's been going on in this city has been downtown, and to the communities, all we've been getting is a bunch of playgrounds. And in the playground, you can't do nothing in the playground in the wintertime.
I hear you on that. On that note, we're going to take a short pause, ladies and gentlemen. We got to pay some bills, so we'll be right back after this.
Detroit Hot Radio, WDHR, the heart and soul of Detroit music.
Are you looking for gentle dentistry at an affordable price? Pay us a visit at Hardin Family Dentistry. We're located at 7411 John R. Street in Detroit. We have affordable prices. We accept most insurance plans and flexible hours. Call us for your appointment today at 313-871-1999, 313-871-1999, or visit us on mydetroitdentist.com. Come and smile with us.
Now, on with the show.
Right here on DetroitHotRadio.com.
Okay, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for listening to Let's Talk About It. I'm your host, T. Pablo. This evening, we have W.F. Hodo running as a write-in candidate for City Council District 3. So, Hodo, what's your platform?
First of all, Pablo, I want to thank you again for bringing me in here. And we've been around through District 3 our entire lives. I have, since 1965. A lot of things I've watched change for the worse and very few for the better. We already talked about the housing stock and how to stabilize it, not just tearing down houses willy-nilly and not checking whether or not they should be refurbished as opposed to just laid down to the ground and snatched out. So we also want to focus on the build-up of the great things in our district, what our district has to offer. For instance, the aviation school. And want to spotlight the history of our block clubs in the community. For instance, Coney Gardens is one of the most historic districts inside the city of Detroit for black people. Some of the most well-to-do people were staying in Coney Gardens before most areas inside the city of Detroit. We also want to definitely spotlight the aviation school, as I said. Now, the aviation school is one of those places where the teenagers are learning how to fly airplanes. Some are learning how to be aeromechanics. Now, City Airport is a part of District 3. Detroit City Airport is a part of District 3. And it's been stated that the present administration wants to snatch out one of the runways. Now, the problem with that is that the runway that they want to snatch out is the one that the aviation school uses. So we got to make sure we don't let that happen. We got to do all we can, and we got to make sure that the community knows that that's one of the things that the administration wants to do. Now, the other runway has been the one that the well-to-do people with their private planes have been flying in and kind of using it like their own private yacht club in the air. So we want to make sure we take notice of that. We also want to revitalize and encourage new business development on 7 Mile and 6 Mile roads. Now, I kind of covered that a little earlier about, family-style restaurants. Black people have kind of gotten a niche in dealing with doing hair and washing cars. Well, we can do a whole lot more than that. So it's time for us to start looking towards some more technologically sound issues. Because, see, historically, when you take it back thousands of years, black people, going back all the way to ancient Kemet, which was the name of Egypt prior to the changing of it, and the word Kemet means land of the blacks. Well, we were the most technologically sound people on the planet at the time that we were there. So likewise, here in America, as we were some of the most technologically sound builders and cattlemen, what they called us cowboys and that kind of thing, we need to be able to reach back and grab some of that DNA and start to get technologically sound in our communities so that we can start catching up to the rest of the world in technology. And we need a lot of that in our communities. We need to speak up more, and I plan on doing it, to ensure that District 3 receives its fair share of the infrastructure dollars that were awarded by the federal government to be administered by state and local governments. Now, there's some $55 million just laying dormant, and we haven't gotten a portion of that in District 3. The East Side, pretty much, after you get away from Jefferson in general. We need to make sure that we get our fair share of those dollars. And my predecessor hasn't said a mumbling word about all of these dollars. For sure, we're going to speak up and speak out about that and do all we can to fight to make sure that that money is shared. We want to definitely encourage business ownership by those who live in District 3. You know, we want people who live in their own neighborhoods to own businesses. And we want to be able to bring people to the table to show you how to maintain said businesses. We want to hold businesses that are already in existence accountable for maintaining the cosmetic appearance and the surrounding landscapes of their businesses. Clean up around your businesses, man. Clean up. Put a fresh coat of paint on there. Don't leave your clubs looking like the 1970s. Bring them up to date, that kind of stuff. And I know the dollars may not be there in your pocket, but there are federal dollars for all of these kind of things. And then if not, reach out to some community organizations. There are ways to get money to fix stuff. People in other aspects of Michigan haven't had any problems of fixing up their businesses. Businesses downtown are not having any problems getting fixed up. So why is it that District 3 seems to be suffering from the lack of repair or the lack of attention thereof? We also need to make sure that we turn on the lights in District 3. There are areas where street lights have not been turned on throughout the last couple of administrations of city council people and mayors. Lights have been out for almost a decade and have been ignored. Now, many of you may have seen the video that I shot, Mitchell Street and 6 Mile, that's all over social media, when 3 weeks ago it was raining and the whole block was flooded, which meant that those sewers had been given no attention in decades for one street to look like a river. Then one house burnt out completely and the rest of the block looked like something out of a apocalyptic movie, like Road Warrior or something. So we got to work on this. Matter of fact, if you were to go, say for instance, over near Oakland, between Oakland and John R. and 6 Mile to 7 Mile, and just look at that area, you can shoot all kind of horror movies over there because there's nothing there. It's terrible. Then when you go across 7 Mile, you go on Keating, you go on different streets over that way for almost a half mile. Stuff is going, and it really bothers me personally because I grew up like a half mile from there, and these areas were for people that I went to high school with which were my friends. There's nothing there. Then when you go further east, it's the same kind of thing. And it's just been totally ignored by these last few administrations, whether they be city council people or whether they be anybody. And nobody's even speaking up about it. Well, it's time out for that, man. We got to get this stuff straight. We also want to make sure that we get community trash cans at bus stops, main streets, and in front of businesses. Because I know for a fact, man, if the garbage can was just there, people would put something in it. They wouldn't just throw a bottle in the middle of the street, because I got more faith in Detroiters than that. A lot of y'all say, well, y'all don't care, y'all don't keep your own neighborhood clean. That's not true. I've seen many a person out there sweeping in front of their house, keeping their lawn cut. But it seems for some strange reasons that the landscapes that the city of Detroit has owned are the ones that look the most abandoned, are the ones that look the most distraught. Grass growing. Matter of fact, it's been alleged that the administration at the beginning of this year was at a particular meeting, and concerning the east side of Detroit, and in particular District 3, when asked about what was going to be going on over there, what was going to be happening, it was said that the administration said, we're going to just let the grass grow. If that don't be true, well, it seems as though it is, because that's all that's growing over there in these vacant lots. Grass, degradation, poverty, and the lack of interest. We got to work to make sure that these bus stops and bus shelters get power washed regularly. Especially, look, with the time we're living in right now with the COVID and all these different variations of COVID, bus stops need to be power washed on a regular basis. We got to keep this stuff clean and germ free. I mean, you go stand in a bus stop, you see all kind of stuff stuck on the glass. It's all over the seat you can't sit down. You look on the ground, there's stuff all over the place. Garbage cans are filled, the few that have garbage cans are falling all over the ground. Garbage falling out the garbage cans, falling all over the ground. Then, some of them are in front of business, like in particular over on Gratiot. This is McDonald's over on Gratiot and 7 Mile. When you go over there in the early morning, garbage is falling on the ground. Now, what makes it even worse is that the business, that McDonald's, sends their employees out there to sweep up the garbage and to pick up the stuff and empty the garbage can. That's a city garbage can. That is not their job. And I'm proud to say that they do care enough to want to take care of that which is in front of their business. But as a whole, the city of Detroit has responsibilities that have been neglected. The city of Detroit has been outsourcing resources that were once devoted to being maintained by those of us who live inside the city of Detroit, as opposed to being outsourced to other companies that have absolutely nothing to do with the city of Detroit. We got to identify programs that bring federal dollars for home repair and senior home repair to District 3. In addition, we need after-school programs that help children with their homework. We need some neighborhood city halls throughout the district so that the people are able to come in and get help, information, even find out about some loans and that kind of thing, and not just loans, but grants. Programs that you can just make a phone call and they'll take care of you. Like, for instance, how many of you knew that you can go on the Michigan.gov website and go to unclaimed property and punch in your name, and you could very well have $200, $300, or $1,000 waiting on you that you didn't even know that you had? Most of the seniors, you may have had a bank account here or there and you don't remember that you had the bank account here or there because you were young and not really caring, or you may have forgotten. You could have upwards of $1,000. Go on Michigan.gov and check out unclaimed property. And just put your name in and check it out. We need to definitely address the overtaxation on residential property. We've been overtaxed and we haven't gotten any redress on that. Nobody's told us how we're going to be made whole. Many people who have lost their homes and they were overcharged in the first place. So what we need to do is to keep an eye on every aspect of every portion of the city of Detroit to make sure that we're not being misused by our own tax dollars or being denied what we're supposed to have because somebody made a mistake accidentally on purpose.
So would you call that taxation without representation?
No doubt. See, and that's the foundation of this nation. No taxation without representation. The foundation of America, because the King of England was putting taxes on them for everything from drinking to having children. You know, they had to tax the fornication under the Continental King tax. Some of y'all call it the FU something tax. But it was called the fornication under the Continental King. See, now, we also got to redress all of these water shut-offs. How in the world are you shutting off people's water and we live in the Great Lakes? Now, many years ago, I came to different mayors and city council people and Wayne County commissioners, and I have an idea, you know, and I don't know how feasible it is. I'm not an inventor. I'm not a scientist, but have any of you ever seen those paddle boats from them old movies where they have the big paddle on the back? Well, imagine if you had something like that that you could connect some cables to, and you dropped it down in the Detroit River, and the Detroit River has an undertow. And that said undertow would spin this wheel and create electricity, where this electricity could be used for housing, to run the downtown areas of City Detroit, even the water department, so that way it would cost less to run said entities. Now, also, some years ago, I have a family member who has a PhD in nanotechnology and also is a master of concrete, actually helped to design and develop the airstrip in Afghanistan before the war came. Now, this particular runway or airstrip uses this type of concrete the military has where it won't even crack for 25 years. Now, during the Kilpatrick administration, I talked to him directly about it. I also talked to Kwame Kenyatta, who was then a Wayne County commissioner. Kwame Kenyatta did try to get it redressed in the Wayne County Commission. Now, imagine if you could get the city streets of Detroit paved with a concrete that won't even crack for 25 years. How much that would save the city of Detroit in tax dollars.
Yeah, but the reason the streets are the way they are today is because of job security.
No doubt. But it's not even just job security so much as it is some of these companies that are making this concrete that is substandard have had these contracts for years. So they would always have business to do. If they fix it for 30 years, they might as well retire. Well, see, that's the difference in the inventions of black inventors. Like, for instance, the original light bulb did not work without this thing called a filament that a brother by the name, I'm not sure, I think it's Lewis Latimer, is the one that invented that filament. The original filament, if you were to go to the Henry Ford Museum, that original light bulb still burns to this very day.
If you go to old towns, you'll still see cobblestone streets. As a matter of fact, the streets in front of the Fox Theater, my granddad helped lay down, okay?
Okay.
So there are a lot of areas where you have rock streets that's been there since the 17th century. They did nothing. They broke up. They did nothing.
Well, see, that's the quality of workmanship. That's what I'm talking about. So if this ends jobs in one industry, that means that's why we need to be teaching more technological jobs, because everybody can't do physical labor or shouldn't have to. Develop your mind. There are a whole bunch of things to do, but also we should be having a textile industry. We need to be making our own clothes. We need to be, man, it's so much stuff that we could be doing. Even like years ago, folks were talking about using the land on the east side for farmland. Well, okay, if that's what you want to do, what would you farm and what industry would it be a part of? See, it was said, but it was just laid out there. Nobody took it serious or just said something just to shut the people up who were over there. So if you were going to do that, give us something legitimate to look at. Also, we want to address these things with, I said water shut-offs. So also we want to address people being shut off from water and power, DTE, who have underlying health issues, who have children in the house. Same thing with water. Now, the thing that really gets me about water being shut off is that if there's a home without water, then the social services people can come and take your children. They can take your children if you don't have water for a certain amount of time. So why would a city with all of these children in it want to shut your water off? Why would a city want to shut off water and you don't know whether or not people have underlying health issues? Why would a city want to shut off water in general in the Great Lakes? Well, you got to pay your bills because we got to maintain the system. Sure we do. But also, there are ways to make sure that the system does not cost as much to run.
Well, that's exactly right. There's a segue to what I was going to ask you is that what can you do about what you just said?
Well, the thing again, as I repeat, things got to be more technologically sound. Now, this is the thing, not just as we're talking about this, but in general. Everything is supposed to be easier and better. The houses are the cars, are no longer being made out of solid steel like they once were. They've been fiberglass, plastic, glued together, and a few other things. Aluminum. Alloy. All these different alloys. And why is it that these cars cost quadruple as an old car that was made out of solid steel, iron, all these heavy metals? It was much easier to keep those running as opposed to now where you get all this computerized stuff in them and all this extra stuff that doesn't cost as much to make, but everything costs more. So why is it not that we can't refurbish the water department and all of these other departments where they'll run more efficiently without overcharging our people? That's just not right. Finally, I want to make sure that we promote District 3 as the East Side gateway into the city of Detroit. Because that's what it is. When you come up Gratiot, you're coming into Detroit. Come up Van Dyke, come up DeQuinder, I-75, John R. These are the entrance ways into the city of Detroit. And it should look like that. When you ride up John R., you should not see a bunch of prostitution. When you ride up John R., you should not see dilapidated buildings. When you come up I-75 and come on to 6 and 7 Mile, it should be a haven, not a hell. When you come down DeQuinder, it's fine until you get so far up. When you come up Mound, Van Dyke, Gratiot, all of these things, it should not look like this after you get past 8 Mile. There are a whole lot of things that can be done. Again, federal dollars have not been shared in District 3. We want our fair share. I'm going to do my utmost to fight for our fair share. And that's why I'm running. I'm a former athlete. I don't like losing. I don't like to be behind the 8-ball. I was a good athlete. I was an exceptional athlete. I trained hard. I don't like to lose anything. Don't mean that I'm a sore loser, but at the same time, that means when I fight to win. I'm fighting to win as your write-in city council candidate, W.F. Hodo, H-O-D-O, W.F. H-O-D-O for District 3 City Council. When you write my name in, make sure you darken the circle right next to my name. W.F. Hodo. Now, if you want to contact me and you want to help, you can always give me a call at 313-685-6777. That's 313-685-6777. Or you can email me at Hodo, H-O-D-O, loves, L-O-V-E-S, Detroit, at gmail.com. That's Hodo loves Detroit at gmail.com. And I'll repeat one more time. Write my name on the ballot, please. W.F. Hodo. That's W-F-H-O-D-O. I'm your community write-in candidate for District 3 City Council. It's time for a change, y'all. Ain't y'all tired of the same soup warmed over and over again? I mean, people are having FBI raid their offices. Well, raid our offices, because we own the Coleman Young Municipal Building. They're raiding our office, raiding people's homes for bribery and racketeering and so forth. And this didn't just start. This stuff has been going on 20 years. It goes all the way back to when city council people were accepting sausage and had got indicted. When city council people were saying that they had employees working for them, but yet the employees were in a totally different state. So anybody right now that's getting caught up by the federal government, the Federal Bureau of Investigations, the FBI, anybody who's getting caught up in that right now, you got to be dumb as a brick to know all of this stuff was going on, or you just didn't give a damn about the people's money, about the people's respect, about the people's dignity. What the hell is wrong with you? If you're one of them, you need to step out, step down, and step out the way so some of us who want to do the right thing can be there. If you don't want to do the right thing for the people and disrespect the people's seats like that, get the hell out the way.
Wow, that's some strong stuff, ladies and gentlemen. That's an alpha male talking. Anyway, we had a lot of fun here, ladies and gentlemen. We come down to the end of the show. A brother like that, he got my vote. Should I have said that?
Well, it's up to you, bro. You can't vote for you. Ain't even in my district.
Oh, okay. Whatever.
I wish you were.
Philosophically, he got my vote. I can't vote for him, but he got my vote. I wish you a lot of luck, Hodo.
No, thank you.
And we'll see what happened.
Now, as I was talking, don't think I got emotionally worked up. I'm like Bruce Lee said, because I am a martial artist. He says use emotional content, not anger. Also, Solomon said, oppression makes a wise man mad. So I want to thank you, Pablo. Oh, I almost forgot, Pablo. We have a fundraiser coming up this Monday, the 18th. The 18th of August at Mr. Maps Lounge, and that's located at 1627 East 7 Mile. And that's at the corner of Right Pale. It's about a half mile east of I-75. And you can bring your donations, and those who want to help pull past our kicker cards, come and join in at the fundraiser. And it'll be going from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Again, at 1627 East 7 Mile, Mr. Maps Lounge. That's M-A-P-P-S, Mr. Maps Lounge. And it is within inside of District 3. Again, thank you, Pablo. Man, I appreciate Detroit Hot Radio. Man, y'all got it going on over here.
Oh, no problem. And thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. We had a lot of fun. Until next time, this is T. Pablo. Take care of the seniors. Take care of the children. And plant that tree for shade that you know you'll never sit under.
It's a new day for Detroit radio. It's internet radio. Make sure you're streaming in your car. Detroit Hot Radio.